They made me serve drinks at my own sister's baby shower. While everyone else laughed and posed for photos, I was clearing trash. The same sister whose $20,000 debt I once paid. You're not successful. You're not a mother. So know your place, my mom whispered. But what if I told you? The baby they celebrated wasn't even her husband's. And what if the proof cold, undeniable DNA evidence was hidden inside that gorgeous cake? They wanted a perfect party. I gave them the truth. Now tell me, what happens when a family built on lies tastes its own poison? Hi, my name is Jordan, and if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have told you I'd do anything for my family. I was that kind of son, the one who picked up the phone at 2 a.m., who lent money without asking for it back, who kept showing up even when it hurt. Especially for my older sister Claire. Claire was the golden child. Always was. Growing up, if she got a B+, my mom framed it like a Nobel Prize. If I got an A, she'd ask why it wasn't an A+. Claire was loud, confident, the kind of person who walked into a room and assumed everyone was already clapping. And they usually were. Me, I was quiet, bookish. I liked fixing things, computers, old bikes, broken plans. But you can't fix favoritism. Not when it's baked into your family's DNA. When Claire turned 30, she married a rich guy, Ethan. Nice enough. He ran some kind of tech startup, always traveling, always flashing a perfect smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. My mom loved him, of course. She said, "Now that's a real man." I guess that made me something less. A few years ago, Claire's business went under. Boutique skincare line burned through cash like wildfire. She was drowning in debt, and my mom called me crying, saying Claire might have to declare bankruptcy. So I gave her everything I had. Literally. I drained my savings, $20,000 I'd been slowly building to maybe start my own little shop one day, and wired it to her. She said thank you. Once. Over text. No heart emoji. Since then, I've been working double shifts, freelancing, barely making rent. I never asked for the money back. I didn't even expect it. I just thought one day they'd see me, appreciate me, treat me like I mattered. But families like mine, they don't run on gratitude. They run on power. So when I got the invite to Claire's baby shower, I was surprised. I hadn't seen her in months. The text was from Mom, not her, "We'd love for you to help out at the party." Claire could really use the support. I smiled. I thought maybe this is my moment. Maybe they're reaching out. I bought a nice shirt, skipped a shift, and showed up early, only to find that help out meant serve drinks. My mom handed me an apron, said the caterer backed out last minute, asked me to keep water glasses full and throw away trash between tables. No one even said hi. Not Claire, not Ethan, not even the baby's future grandmother. And as I walked around refilling glasses and smiling politely at strangers, I heard someone whisper, "Who's the waiter? He's kinda cute." And Claire laughed. "Oh, that's just Jordan, my little brother. He's between jobs." I wasn't. I had 3 and they just didn't think they counted. Because I didn't have a corner office, a car lease, a mortgage, or a child on the way. In my mother's eyes, that made me less than. She pulled me aside later that day when I asked if I could sit down for a few minutes. She looked at me like I'd asked to borrow her soul. "You know, this day's not about you, right?" she said. "Claire's carrying life inside her. You have nothing going on. Just be useful and don't make it about yourself." That's when it hit me. I wasn't a guest, I was staff, and not even paid staff, just the disappointment they could call on when they needed a warm body with no expectations. Still, I stayed, because some part of me still craved their approval, even then, even after everything. But fate has a funny way of speaking, quietly at first, then loud enough to shatter glass, and that day it screamed. The longer I stayed at that baby shower, the smaller I felt. Not because of the room, it was huge, a rented event hall with rose gold balloons, fake ivy draped across tables, a dessert bar that looked like it came out of a bridal magazine. No, I felt small because I was invisible. Or, worse, looked at like I was in the way. "Jordan, the trash is overflowing again," Claire said, not even bothering to look up from her selfie. I was halfway through pouring sparkling water into glasses and I paused, thinking maybe she'd say please or thanks, or even just crack a smile. But she just rolled her eyes. "Do you want me to get someone else to do it?" My own sister. The one I'd bailed out of financial ruin. The one whose life was practically built on the back of my sacrifice. And here I was, some disposable helper she could boss around for appearances. Ethan didn't say much. He mostly mingled laughing with his tech buddies in tailored suits. Once I caught his eyes. He gave me a quick nod like he was acknowledging a valet. Then he turned back to his friends and said, "Nah, Claire always gets what she wants." She made sure of that. Something in the way he said it stuck with me. Not just what he said, but how he said it, tight-forced, like someone biting down on truth too bitter to swallow. Later, while wiping chocolate fingerprints off a table, I overheard my aunt ask my mom, "So, when's Jordan gonna settle down? Any girl in the picture?" My mom scoffed. "Please, he can't even take care of himself. No car, no wife, no direction. He's still figuring it out." I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand up and shout, "I paid for your daughter's freedom. I sacrificed years of my life for this family. And you think I'm the burden, but I didn't. Because deep down, I still hoped someone would finally see me as more than a background character in my own family. Then came the moment that changed everything. I was in the hallway stacking used plates when I overheard a low conversation between Claire and one of her friends. They were standing just around the corner, and her voice carried sharp smug. "I swear to God, if one more person says the baby has Ethan's eyes, I'm gonna lose it." The friend laughed. "Girl, he doesn't." Claire sighed dramatically. "Exactly. But we're not talking about that. Ever." My heart stopped. I froze right there, holding 3 dirty plates and a dripping cup of punch. "He doesn't." At first, I thought I misheard, but then Claire added, "Let's just say DNA tests are a scam if no one ever sees them, and Ethan's too busy to even notice I changed OBGYNs halfway through." There it was, a confession. A cold, casual one, as if she was talking about mismatching shoes, not lying to her husband about the paternity of his child. I stood there in a fog, the noise of the party suddenly muffled, like I'd gone underwater. I wasn't supposed to hear that, and now that I had, I couldn't unhear it. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront her? Tell Ethan? Ask Claire what the hell she was thinking? But then another voice, this one from deep inside me, asked something different. Why is this your responsibility? Why is it always on you to protect the people who treat you like garbage? I set the plates down slowly and walked outside for air. The late afternoon sun was warm, but I felt cold. Everything inside me was shifting. That was the moment the resentment solidified. It had always been there, years of being the afterthought, the backup plan, the one they only called when things were broken and someone needed to bleed. But now I had a secret, a powerful one. And for once I wasn't going to be quiet, not yet, not now, but soon. I didn't sleep that night. Claire's voice kept replaying in my head. DNA tests are a scam if no one ever sees them. Who was the father then? And how long had she been lying to Ethan? To all of us. A part of me still wanted to believe I misunderstood, that maybe Claire was just being dramatic. But another part, the part that had been stepped on and laughed at for years, that part wanted to know, to see, and for once to have the truth in my hands before it could be spun into another one of her polished, perfect lies. So I did something I'd never done before I snooped. The next morning, I showed up at my mom's house under the excuse of returning leftover decorations. She was surprised to see me. "Didn't think you'd bounce back after yesterday," she said with a tight smile. "You looked overwhelmed." What she meant was, "You looked weak." What she didn't know was I was done playing weak. Claire wasn't home yet, still out with Ethan, probably posting curated happiness on Instagram. But I knew where she kept her things. She always used the guest room when visiting Mom's house, still treating it like a personal closet. I slipped inside and went straight for her tote. Sure enough, buried under receipts and makeup bags was a sealed envelope from a private DNA clinic still unopened. It had Ethan's name listed as the alleged father. I stared at it. My hands shook. This was it. This was the truth, tangible, final, and right there in my hand. I shouldn't have opened it. But after everything I had to. The result, 0.00% probability of paternity. Ethan wasn't the father. I stood frozen, holding the paper like it was on fire. Claire knew. She'd known this entire time, and she was going to lie to him forever. Raise the child in his house, spend his money, wear his ring, all on a foundation of betrayal. I should have confronted her right then and there, but I didn't. Because this needed precision, not emotion. This wasn't just about exposing Claire. This was about reclaiming myself, not by begging for respect, but by forcing them to look at the truth they'd tried so hard to ignore. Over the next few days, I kept my distance. I acted normal, smiled at texts, even accepted another invitation from Mom to help prep for the second smaller baby celebration with family-only guests. She made it sound like an honor. It wasn't. She wanted me to arrive early and clean the patio. "I'd ask your uncle, but he's got a real job," she added on the phone, like a blade dipped in sugar. The final straw came when I arrived that day and found a list taped to the fridge. Jordan's chores: refill drinks, collect used plates, reheat food trays, keep noise down during gift opening. No. Please. No thank you. Just a task list for the family servant. I remember standing there holding that list as my mom breezed by and said, "Oh, good, you're early. Make sure the cake is out of the fridge by 3. We spent a fortune on it. That's when the idea hit me. The cake. Big. White. Over-decorated. And hollow inside, just like their idea of family. I still had the DNA results. I had scanned it, printed it, folded it neatly. And I knew exactly where it would go. At 2:45, while Mom and Claire were outside posing for pictures, I lifted the top tier of the cake and gently slipped the folded envelope under the sugar flower centerpiece. Not dramatic, not messy, just truth. Waiting, and then I walked away. Not out of fear, out of clarity. Because I knew once that knife sliced through fondant they'd all finally see what I'd known all along. I was never the problem. I was just the only one who couldn't fake it. They say revenge is best served cold, but mine. It was chilled to perfection, served between 2 layers of fondant with a sugar flower on top. I didn't stay long after I slid the envelope inside the cake. I pretended to take a phone call, waved off my mom with a half smile, and walked out into the sun. I didn't need to see it happen. I just needed to know that it would. But fate, oh fate, has a twisted sense of theater. I was halfway down the block when I heard the scream. Not a high-pitched one. No, it was Claire's. A strangled gasp, like the air had been punched out of her lungs. Then came the yelling. I turned the corner slowly, curiosity pulling me back like a magnet. From a distance, I could see them through the backyard fence, everyone crowded around the cake table. The envelope was open, the paper in Ethan's hands. His face. God, I'll never forget his face. It wasn't rage, it wasn't even betrayal. It was vacuum, like someone had pulled out the core of him and left a man-shaped shell still breathing. Claire was talking fast, hands flailing, voice cracking. "It's fake. Someone's messing with us, Jordan. He's jealous he made this up." My mother chimed in, voice sharp and cold. "He's always had problems. You know how he resents you, Claire. He probably forged that paper." But Ethan didn't say a word. He didn't look at them. He just looked at the document again. Then at the baby. Then, slowly he turned, walked to his car, and drove off. Claire tried to run after him, but tripped on the patio step, cursing my name between sobs. And that was when I stepped back into view. Not out of spite, but because they needed to see me. Not just know I'd done it, but see the look on my face. I wasn't angry. I wasn't smug. I was calm. I'd carried their shame for too long. Now, it was time they held it themselves. Claire saw me first. You think you're some hero?" "That was Private Jordan." I tilted my head. "So, was lying to your husband. But I guess we all cross lines sometimes, don't we?" My mom marched toward me like she still had control. "How dare you ruin this day? Do you have any idea what you've done to this family?" I smiled gently, the way one might smile at a child who just told a foolish lie. "No, Mom, I didn't ruin this family. You just kept covering the cracks. I just turned on the light." Her face contorted. "You're nothing. You've always been nothing. No job, no wife, no future, just a bitter little boy who can't let go of the past." I took a step closer, dropped my voice so only she could hear. Funny, that nothing just made everyone see what kind of mother you really are. She flinched like I'd slapped her. But I wasn't finished. I looked around the stunned backyard guests, silent cake half-cut people holding phones, but unsure if they should be filming or helping. "Let me save you all the trouble," I said, raising my voice slightly. "Yes, I put the DNA results in the cake. Yes, I exposed a lie. And no, I don't regret it." Pause. You don't get to call someone family, then treat them like trash. You don't get to take and take and take, then scream betrayal the second someone tells the truth. Then I turned to Claire one last time. "I bailed you out of your debt. I protected your secrets. I forgave you when you didn't deserve it. But this was your line. And I don't cross lines for people who would set fire to mine." She was crying now. No mascara left, no filters. Just the raw, messy face of someone who thought they'd never be caught. "I hate you," she whispered. "Good," I said. "Then we're finally even." I walked away, slow, steady. Nobody followed. No one asked me to stay. No one offered a final insult. Because in that moment they knew I hadn't just exposed Claire. I had exposed them all, the hierarchy, the silence, the favoritism, the toxic games dressed up as family tradition. And I did it without screaming, without fists, without begging to be seen. Just truth, folded neatly, served cold. I didn't go home right away. I walked for hours. No music, no destination, just me and the quiet thump of my shoes against the sidewalk. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small, not invisible, not like a shadow at the edge of someone else's spotlight. I felt clean, like I had finally peeled off years of guilt, shame, and second-guessing, like I could breathe in my own skin again. It wasn't triumph, it wasn't pride, it was release. You see, people think revenge is about destruction, but really, it's about release. Letting go of the pain someone buried in you by handing it back to them in its purest form. I didn't burn bridges. They were never bridges to begin with. They were cages. And now, I'd finally stepped outside. I heard through a cousin a week later that Ethan had moved out. Quietly, with no fanfare. He'd packed a single bag, left the keys in the mailbox, and gone to stay with his brother. He hadn't spoken to Claire since. Claire's social media went dark. Mom stopped texting. Not a call, not a message. And I didn't reach out either, because you can't fix a mirror that's never reflected you in the first place. I could have told this story in so many ways. I could have focused on the pain, the betrayal, the sheer cruelty of being treated like I was nothing over and over again. But this story isn't about them anymore. It's about me. It's about what happens when the one everyone steps on finally stands up. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need validation. I just needed distance. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of walking alone. Because now I walk as someone whole. Not the family's burden, not the backup plan, not the emotional trash can. Just Jordan, and that's enough. And maybe you've been there too. Maybe you've been the one pouring into others only to be told you're too much or not enough. Maybe you've stayed quiet so others could feel loud. Maybe you've cleaned up everyone's mess while they called you lazy, ungrateful, or difficult. If that's you, then hear me when I say this. Your silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you deep. It makes you dangerous in the best way. Because when the day comes that you choose yourself, not revenge, not war, but clarity, that's the day you become free. Not perfect, not healed overnight, but free. And sometimes that's the best kind of ending. Not dramatic, not loud, just walking away from the fire without smelling like smoke. Thank you for listening. If you felt seen in this story, or if it made you feel a little less alone, don't forget to subscribe to Hidden Family Chronicle for more powerful, true-to-life family secrets. Leave a comment and tell me, have you ever been the Jordan in your family? Hit that like button to help more stories like this reach the people who need them most. Because here we don't just tell secrets, we set them free.